Hello everybody and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have this beautiful Pentium II 450 back for part 2 of our full restoration video. Now in our previous video, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you go back and look at it. We took this computer from e-waste. It was thrown to the wild. We completely restored the computer, discovered a couple of great goodies in it, the Voodoo 2 card, the Matrox card. We added some additional goodies like the Sound Blaster card and the CD burner. And so in today's video, I figured we would get rid of the pesky XP. Nothing wrong with XP, just want to do something different for this computer. I figured, I was listening to some of the comments and things like that. I figured what we'll do is install Windows 98 2nd Edition on this computer and also work through the driver installations just to see if there's any challenges there getting those going. Because remember, in the Windows XP, they still didn't have the driver installed for the Voodoo 2 card. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get that going. And then, of course, we'll play a couple games. Foreshadowing, not really good at the games. That's fine. We're only here to test them to make sure the card works. That said, let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is start with the Windows 98 boot disk. That's the very first thing we're going to do. We're going to pop that in there just so we can get, driver support for the optical drive, as well as be able to format the computer itself. So we'll go ahead and just turn on the power. Just love the sound of that startup. Here we are. And we'll skip the memory test for now. We know that works. And I haven't touched the memory again, so we definitely know it works. Just testing the drives out here. There, I found our 2 optical drives, which is great. Just what we did. We left everything alone. Now it's accessing the floppy disk. So I created this floppy disk back when I had done one of the other Windows 98 installations. That's one of the nice things about the OEM copy is when you're installing it, gives you the option to create that boot disk. I'm going to go ahead and start the computer with CD-ROM support. Fairly straightforward. Oh, good old technology. MSCD001. I've seen that so many times over the years. The nice thing about this is that it does everything for you. I mean, you can go in and you can install the drivers manually, wipe the drive, install, in the config system, .bat files and configure it. But for what we're trying to do here, we're not looking to do a lot of DOS gaming per se. We're working on just initially getting this going. Now, we can always go back in and tweak those 2 files if needed. But for the sake of today, and what we're trying to accomplish, we'll go ahead and just use the boot disk for everything that we need. So it also creates a virtual RAM drive. That's where all the commands will be to be able to do the work. That's where the format.com, for example, command will be, things like that. This is very basic. We're not looking to do a bunch of things with this again. This is designed to be like a one shoe fits all sort of expression, but we're not looking to do much with that. The diagnostic tools were successfully loaded to drive D. Awesome. Thank you so much, computer. Love it. All right, we have drive E and drive F for our optical drives. Let's go to drive D just to see. And then here you are. You can see all the different commands that it gives you as part of that boot sequence. We're not looking to do anything with this outside of just the format. So I'm going to format C:/Q. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's already set to FAT32. All I'm doing is wiping the data that's there. And it's warning me, yes, absolutely. And, we could do a full format on this computer. But for what we're trying to accomplish here, I think this is fine. And yeah, so it's going to ask me now for the label. I'm just going to hit none. And we're back here. So we have our C drive now. As you can see, nothing on there. We have our A drive and D drive, which is our RAM drive. But then we're going to go to E. That's our CD-ROM drive. I'm going to pop that open and go ahead and put in the Windows 98 SE disk in there. There we are. We have that in there. I'm just going to go setup. Please wait. It's going to do a routine check, which is fine. And I mean, some people skip this. I like doing it. It's peace of mind when you're going through the installation. Is that yes, I did a scan disk. Now, I mean, I'm hit and miss with scan disk over the years. You know, it does pick up a couple things once in a while. I have other applications I like to use, but again, scan disk is good for what we're trying to do here. All right, scanning system registry and copying Windows files. Welcome to the beautiful Windows 98 setup. So congratulations on choosing Windows 98. The software makes your computer more powerful, reliable, manageable, and entertaining. Wow, that's a powerful statement. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit continue on this, and it's going ahead and setting up the wizard for us to install. I always got a kick out of this, the estimated time remaining. I don't remember it being accurate ever. But it's there, so it's just really interesting to keep tabs on. Okay, now it's going ahead and asking me for license agreements, so I'll go ahead and enter that right now. Okay, the key's been entered. Now it's asking me for what directory. See Windows, that's pretty default. We'll go ahead and stick with that, and it's going to go ahead and prepare that now. What I really like about these GUIs compared, you know, you might have seen my Windows 3.1 interface, or even the DOS installation that we did. It's becoming less tech over the years, less IT, less, you know, focused on business, and really focused on the consumer market. I mean, it's trying to do what it can, retro recall. It's trying to do what it can to bring the consumer user into doing this. Now, I mean, I don't know a whole bunch of people initially that were doing this. In terms of the consumer market, unless you had some sort of tech background or you were very familiar, comfortable working on your computer in such a way. And yeah, I know system tools. Yes, okay. I'm just selecting a certain kind of build here, just to be well rounded for the install in case you run into problems. But yeah, so I like how it says, you know, hey, we're preparing the computer. We're going to try to make this quite easy on you. And startup disk, we don't need to worry about that right now. It's going to complain, and I'll take that out there. There we go. And then so it brings you in. It's like, hey, welcome to Windows 98. We're going to sit back and enjoy while Windows 98 installs in your computer. Go grab that coffee. I know it doesn't say that there. And then it talks about automated process. So it asked me a few questions at the beginning, and now it says, here you go. Thank you so much for doing this. And I mean, like I said, if you bought this out of the box, fresh install your computer, you had a boot disk, you popped it in. Now, it would give you the instructions for that for sure. During like an upgrade copy, if you had Windows 95 on here, it would walk you through that similar process as the end consumer user. It's interesting though to think how far we've come through the operating systems and being able to install these and being able to go through this process. And like I said, these are geared towards really, I feel, the consumer market and trying to bring people into that. And I mean, look where Microsoft is today in terms of market share. But I mean, this was a race at the time, getting to the market and getting things going. And I think it worked out well for them. So this is not truly going to be a Windows 98 OS install video. I'm sure I'll do that in another video in the future where we actually focus and read every screen and go through everything, even though we've done part of it here on this video. I'm going to go ahead and move forward to later in the installation, just so we have kind of a touch base, and then we'll move to the end of the installation, just so we can get on to focusing on what we're going to be doing with this computer itself. Okay, we're just going to do a little touch base here. So we're approximately 11 minutes left based on what it's telling me. It's been longer than what it said. Windows 98 is now setting up any hardware and any plug-and-play devices you may have. So it's scanning the system, scanning the hardware profile, trying to determine if the Windows 98 2nd edition driver database, so that's a key because it would have updated drivers pre-installed with the operating system build, to see if it can install any working default drivers for the hardware that we've presented to the OS. So it'd be interesting to see, because we have the Sound Blaster, I mean, all of these cards are period specific. Mind you, the manufacturers would have had special drivers for the cards if they didn't partner with Microsoft in creating them. So yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and set this up now. So let's go my time zone. All good, and hit OK. And when this is just setting up the control panel, the start menu, all the standard stuff to get the operating system up and running. But yeah, like I said, it'd be interesting to see what drivers it picks up on. And sometimes the Windows drivers that are there, that are supplied by the manufacturer, don't always work, even though it says that it's tested for the environment, or it picks it up incorrectly. And then you have to use a different driver disk or source to install that. So it'll be good. Okay, so we'll be back in a few more minutes as we go through this Windows 98 installation on our Pentium II 450. And here we are to a fully installed, well, installation almost completed, Windows 98 2nd Edition. So it's asking me to enter a password here to identify who we are. We're just going to hit OK. We don't need a password on here. It's detecting the monitor, and it's coming up as a plug-and-play monitor, even though it's an HP, and it did show the right information there. I'm just going ahead and telling it to use its own drivers for this, because one thing I've learned about this particular monitor is that once I reboot the system, or once I let Windows run for a bit, it just detects it properly and swaps the driver out from the plug-and-play monitor over to this one. I'm going to turn the volume up to see if we get anything out of the speakers. Did you find our sound card? And it did. Awesome. Welcome to the exciting new world of Windows 98, where your computer desktop meets the internet. Sit back and relax as you take a brief tour of the options available on this screen. Wow, they really wanted you to do that, eh? Okay, awesome. I won't put you guys through that again. That was my claim to fame right there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I always like to do this. I like to copy the Windows 98. Go ahead and explore here. I like to copy the Windows 98 cab files that are on the CD over to the C drive. This makes future installations, whether you're installing some software or drivers or hardware or whatever, that if it ever calls for a specific Windows 98 driver cab file, that you have it at the ready. It's already sitting on your C drive, so you're not having to dig through a bunch of disks or look for what the dog ate your CD or whatever it is. And then that way you have the CD at the ready. You're able to install. So we'll go ahead and just go to the end of this after we copy over all these files. Okay, so we have our cab files copied over, so I think it's safe to say we can just go ahead and close out of those windows and eject that CD, because now that we've copied the cab files over, it shouldn't be really looking for the Windows 98 CD-ROM anymore, so we should be in good spot for that. All right, I'll put that aside for now, and let's go ahead and check out the device manager to see what drivers it installed. Now, there's a couple ways to get to the device manager. You can right-click on My Computer, go to Properties, and here you have your system information, your device manager, and everything else here. But then also you can go through your Start menu, your settings, and your control panel. And under your control panel, you have the option of going in through System as well. So that's really good. Okay, so under System Properties, we have Windows 98 2nd Edition, which is what we want. Register the Retro Recall. Heard they're pretty awesome. You should subscribe to them. And the Pentium II processor showing 256 megs of RAM. So everything's looking great there. Under Device Manager, yeah, we have a couple little things going on. So let's go ahead and look at our CD-ROM. We have our Acer CD-ROM running at 36 speed, max. We have our HP CD Writer Plus drive, 7200, already detected by the operating system, which is great. And then we have disk drives, our generic IDE disk drive. That's our Quantum Fireball drive, I believe, our 12.7 gig or 12 gig drive. Our floppy disk drive installed. Yeah, there we go. So our display adapter, that's our primary adapter. That's going to be the AGP card, the Matrox card. That's not installed. We'll have to get that going. Then we have our disk controllers, keyboard, monitors. Yeah, see, it did exactly that. I mean, all we did was copy over the cab files, didn't do anything else, and it already detected as the HP monitor, which is correct. Then we have our mouse, network adapters. It's complaining about the internet connection sharing. That's normal. We don't have a network card installed, so it can't share a network card that doesn't exist. It wants to be friendly. It wants to share, but it can't do it because we don't have the foundation there. So that's fine. In terms of the PCI multimedia video device, that's our Voodoo 2 card. That's going to be some fun getting installed. We have our ports, and for sound, it's set up to Creative AWE64. So we have our 16-bit audio and our wavetable MIDI AWE32 compatible. So yeah, I mean, if it has a Sound Blaster 16 compatibility, I'm not too worried about the DOS gaming and things like that. I don't have a Sound Blaster 16 card at the ready. I have it in other systems. I have a couple of them in other systems. But like I said, I was going through my box of parts and I found an AWE64 in an ISA format. So I was like, okay, well, let's just throw that in. So we're good. And then we have our system devices and USB controllers, universal serial bus controllers. Okay, I think we're in a good spot now. So let's go ahead and get out of that. I think the next logical step would be to install the Matrox card drivers. Now, I believe that this driver disk comes with a setup program. I got this from archive.org. So thanks to everybody who supports archive.org and images your files and things like that for, you know, preservation. But yeah, it allows people like myself who, if the manufacturer's website's down or doesn't have the files, then I'm able to go back and get the original driver disk for my hardware. All right, it doesn't have an auto run by the looks of things, so I'm going to go ahead and just double click it. And I see a setup program. Here we are. We'll hit enter on that. Matrox Power Desk version 6. So this program will install the Matrox Power Desk display driver and utilities. English. Now, I never owned a Matrox card. There we go. It's picking it up. It says Matrox MGA G200 AGP. All right, we'll hit next. And let it do its thing. So yeah, I've never owned a Matrox card. I always had ATI or had Creative Labs. I had a Voodoo 3, like I said, later in life, when I was rich and famous, so to speak. Basically mowed lawns and saved money to be able to get a decent video card for my computer. But besides that, it was always an ATI card. Okay, I'm going to hit next and restart my computer when I click finish. We're going to click finish. Go ahead and restart. Now, one thing I always do as I install new software, as I install new hardware, is I do that reboot in between. And, you know, some people don't do that for whatever reason. I don't know. Time for the sake of a few seconds. I don't know. But I do it because if I were to, you know, fast forward, if I go ahead and install 3 pieces of software and 2 pieces of hardware, and then I do a restart at some point, and all of a sudden it blue screens or comes up with all these DLL errors or something, then I don't know which sequence I did that triggered that issue. So then you have to start rolling back manually, mind you, to do that. And, you know, I know later versions of Windows came with System Restore. The Windows 98 startup sound. As I talk through it, of course. You know, System Restore came later in life, but I just like to do this as a best practice. Install something, restart, make sure it's stable, make sure everything's working. Because this was the wild, wild west back then. I mean, we had a bunch of different manufacturers. It was a race for all, you know, who's going to come to market first, who can get this out to the market first. And, you know, ultimately, despite all the testing, we were also their test subjects. So it's important to do that. So let's go ahead and click on my computer again. Let's go down to properties, our device manager, and sure enough, installed the Matrox MGA G200 AGP card. So that's wonderful. Now I realized in my last video I called it a Matrix, like the Matrix twice, after I reviewed the video. So my apologies on that. It was Matrox. We'll just blame it on my Canadian accent or something like that. Okay. We now have that installed. So I think the next logical step is to install the Voodoo card. Now, I did a bunch of research on this because I was having a lot of difficulty. And when I say a lot, I mean over 2 hours worth of kind of hunting, not over 2 hours, about 2 hours of work, hunting back and forth for drivers for this particular card. Now, I did find the original Matrox, the original Diamond Monster CD. It was for that specific card, but it only had the Windows 95 drivers on it. And I didn't see any other images of the disk or even just driver files on the internet that were related to that particular card that would work in Windows 98. Now, I know you can install Windows 95 drivers in Windows 98 and it will work. However, I didn't feel 100% confident that it's going to be working for what we wanted. Then I went on Phil's Computer Lab and found this rendition of the software, and it does have a self-installer. It allows me to install it based on everything I read. But then I checked the version of it, and the version that I'm seeing is 1007, and I wasn't entirely convinced because that was very similar to the Windows 95 one. So I hemmed and hawed again, and I kind of sat back and did some more research again, and then I went on a forum that had all of the 3dfx drivers installed, and I found this one that is specifically calls out that it will install on the specifically for this card, and it's 3dfx driven. So I know it says version 1.0005. I don't know how related that is to version 1.007. So theoretically, this would be newer. However, when I see the 3dfx badging and the chipset and all that good stuff, I feel confident that this can do this. Plus, it calls out the OpenGL, and it calls out all the different versions of all the different drivers it does install. And from what I read, this was the latest driver, period, put out by 3dfx for this card. So I'm going to trust that this is the one that we're going to use. If there's any errors, we can go ahead and, backdate it and go ahead and fight with it for another one. But I think for what we're doing, this should work. So I'm just going to install it in the Windows temp file. And then it gives me, it gives me a README just telling me, hey, here are the Windows. And it calls out Windows 98 here, which is great. Whereas the other CD only had the Windows 95 versions. And I just want to make sure that, someone at some point tested it with the 98 operating system, especially second edition, where it's, a couple steps higher than Windows 95. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close that and go into our properties again, because we're going to select our device manager and get rid of that. And we're going to go into our questionable device, not knowing what it is. Click properties, click a reinstall driver. This wizard searches for updated drivers for your PCI multimedia video device. Okay, thank you. Next. And search for a better driver. Yes, we're going to specify a location and click browse. It's going to try to go to a floppy disk that's nothing in there. Okay, and we're going to go to C drive, Windows, temp, because that's where we had temporarily put temporary, the files for the video card. Okay, next, and it's searching. Sure enough, there we are. Voodoo 2 3D accelerator. Hit next, and it's using the Voodoo 2 INF files, which is great. A file being copied is older than the file you are currently on your computer. It is recommended that you keep your existing file. It's rich edit text control. I'm going to use the one that came with the drivers. Now, I can always update Windows and fix this, but if this is the only error that we have, I'd like to use the one that came with the driver setup. I don't want to run a hybrid where it's running the driver tested files for the software package, and then all of a sudden now I'm intermixing it with a couple of other DLLs and other things that are associated with the environment. So do you want to keep this file? No. I'll let it install, and now Windows is taking those drivers and adding it to the database. Great. Voodoo 2 3D accelerator. Windows has finished installing an updated driver for your hardware device. Great. Finish. And here we are. To finish setting up, restart. Awesome. I completely approve that message, and I want to make sure that in between every single new edition or things like that is restarted. It doesn't take too much time out of my day and probably causes me less headache down the road. I just love seeing all this old stuff. Newer computers takes this away from you with the branding of the manufacturer's device and things like that. I know you can tweak it and remove all that, but it's just cool to see. So far, so good. I mean, knock on plastic. Okay, let's go back to the control panel under Device Manager and confirm. So we have our Matrox MGA video card installed, which is wonderful. We have our sound card installed, which is great. And we also have our Voodoo 2 3D accelerator installed. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I copied the HP Sure Store CD Writer Plus software, the Easy CD Creator. I'd like to install that on here as well. You know, I had this when I was younger, and this was my first drive, as I had mentioned in my previous video. Not this physical drive, but that model, just because I have this, I found this at a thrift store. It's so funny, back when I was growing up, I tossed all my stuff for a lot of my stuff. So I regret all that, so it's great to have all this back. Okay, here we are. We're going to go ahead and install the CD Writer Plus, because I'm pretty confident we know how to install the optical drive. And welcome to our setup. And next, yes, everything's red, great. Setup will now evaluate your computer and recommend the best way to attach your new CD Writer Plus drive. Now, I remember having this problem back when I was installing it, is that no matter what I do, whether I leave it uninstalled, reinstall it, and then tell it to scan, it tries to scan the opposite of what you have on the computer. So, for example, if I had this plugged into the slave, which is what it is now, it's slave to the CD-ROM drive up top on the secondary channel. If I tell it to scan, it's going to tell me to don't do that and put it on the back of the hard drive on the primary channel as a slave. Now, if I do exactly as it asks and I restart again and run the same software, it tells me to switch it back to my original configuration. And so I'm just going ahead and saying, keep existing CD-ROM drive and add the CD Writer Plus. And then it's telling me, hey, sure enough, use slave. Awesome, got it. Which IDE controller, primary, throw it on with the 12.7 gig, because it's telling me the opposite of what I currently have it set up as. And I've also gone so far as to installing this without it plugged in at all while I'm running the setup. And still, it just tells me to do something differently than what I was supposed to. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. It's going to tell me I should print this information, but whatever. And then it's telling me it's time to shut down. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do its thing, because this is what the operating system wants and the application wants. Never gets old. Okay, it's accessing the drive again, which is great without me touching anything, so it should continue the installation of the CD Writer Plus drive. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, setup is searching for your drive. A CD Writer Plus could not be detected on your system. So, yeah, if I remember correctly, if I click on Review the Recommended IDE Connection Settings, and I say we're going to keep our existing CD-ROM drive and add the CD Writer, yeah, so it's still telling me to jump it over to the other one, and yeah, I'm not going to bother at this point. I'll hit Next, yes, Next, and then continue installing software without the hardware. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll install all the good stuff that it's asking for to get the full experience. Now, I mean, I'll mess with this a little later. When you go to create the CD itself, when you actually go in and tell it, hey, I'm going to write a CD, I'm going to create a music CD or a data CD or whatever, or copy a CD. Windows 98, if you remember back in the control panel in the device manager, it showed it in there. It's detecting it no problem, and I can read CDs from it. So it's just a matter of telling it what drive letter assignment it is in the software. It should be fine. Adaptec Easy CD Creator, one of the early versions of this software. Just love these old installation GUIs. It just brings back a lot of nostalgic memories, for sure, as well as a lot of nostalgic frustrations when we ran into problems like that. I just know I had done that. That's why it's so ingrained in my memory. I had done that so many times. I did exactly what it was telling me to do, and no matter what I did, swap the cable back and forth, we kept on getting into that same situation where, hey, thank you for doing what I suggested you do, but now I want you to do something differently. And it didn't make any difference. Congratulations on the installation of your CD Writer Plus. Do you want to restart? Absolutely. It read my mind. Hit finish. And the computer is restarting. Here we are back into Windows, and sure enough, it's updating system settings. So that's why I like having the restart every time. HP Simple Tracks. Would you like to automatically copy files to a removable disk and get an index of those files on your hard drive? I'm not going to do that right now, so we'll configure later, and it just tells me I can load up the control panel and do that later. It's indicating DirectCD. This program may not run correctly on Windows 98 because of enhanced operating system features. So DirectCD is the ability to save directly to the CD if you had a CD in there, like a multi-session disk, and the same thing with a CDRW. You know, through the application. So I had Microsoft Word open. I can file and save to that disk like a floppy, and then close the session at the end. That's what this application is. I'm going to hit cancel for now just because I don't want to cause any instability in the system without testing, and we're not here to do that at the moment anyway. So I'll go ahead and cancel that. What do you want to do? Do you want to make a music CD? Copy an existing CD? Bad. Unless you're backing up your stuff. Make a CD, data CD, the easiest way by dragging and dropping files in Explorer or by choosing File, Save in any application. And then it says here, make a data CD that is most compatible with other CD-ROM drives. So you do this. So this one here, you can pop in and out, in and out, in and out of the drive on this particular computer. This option gives you the ability to go in and write the CD, and I can then take that and to my friend's computer because it closes a session on the disk. And if he has an advanced enough CD-ROM drive, he should be able to read it. Create disaster recovery floppies and CDs to use in the event of a system crash. Oh my goodness, floppies. I can only imagine how many floppies it would take to back up this computer, just in the basic state it's in right now. You know, I do have Windows 95 on floppies, and that box is pretty heavy. And set up a schedule to automatically back up your files to CD with HP Simple Tracks. I think that's a cool feature. Now, I never used it, and sometimes I'm sure I wish I had, but then it just automatically backs up your data to CD. You know, you could be, gone to bed, and it goes ahead and creates the schedule and does it. But we're not here to do any of this today outside of just installing the software. So I'm going to go ahead and exit. Hewlett-Packard, expanding possibilities, made with Macromedia. Awesome. Okay, so we're back to the desktop. We have, we have our software installed. We have our drivers installed. Everything's looking happy. I'm going to take that CD out now. And I think it's time to install a couple of games and test out that Voodoo 2 card setup. Because, again, we have the driver installed. But if you remember in the Windows XP, it didn't have the driver installed, and this is the best way to try to test out that hardware, which is the purpose of what we're trying to do. We're restoring this computer from e-waste, so we need to prove that video card works, the Voodoo 2 card, and as well as the setup we have going with the Matrox card. So I figured what we'll do is install Quake 3 Arena, my original copy of Unreal, which requires the 3DFX engine. It doesn't require it, but it has the option for it that you can select it and move to that mode. So I figure we can start with those and just see what we'll do to test it out. Now, again, foreshadowing, not very good at these, but that's totally fine. We're here for fun. Okay, popping the disk in, and we should get the auto installer to install the Quake 3 Arena. Now, I mean, we have the luxury of doing this. I'm going to go ahead and install the play, install, reinstall, uninstall, all the good things. I'm going to go ahead and click on install, and I'm going to select the top, whatever I can do here. Next, I read the license agreement, we're good. So yeah, it gives me minimum and maximum. So I don't want it running off of the CD. I want to install all of it on the hard drive. I mean, we have the space for what we're trying to do today, which is great. Click on next, and here we are installing Quake 3 Arena. I mean, I could install Quake 1, Quake 2, all the good stuff, but I know this will push it a little further as well, which is great. Okay, would you like to place a shortcut on your desktop? Yes, we would. DirectX 7 was not detected. Would you like to install DirectX 7? It's required. Absolutely. It's nice that these came on the CDs because back then, today we just install what we need off the internet, but it wasn't as prevalent back then. So it's nice to have it as part of the installation package. Would you like to register? Nope, not today. And we'll go ahead and restart that computer. We strongly recommend. There's a reason for it. I think I got my point across. Okay, we'll go ahead and resume once the computer is back up to the Windows 98 desktop. And we're back to the Windows 98 desktop. We have our beautiful Quake 3 Arena icon there. Let's go ahead and just eject the CD for now because we have the software installed. And we'll pop in the Unreal CD next and install that. Okay, so we have Unreal Setup Program. This program will install Unreal on your computer. No problem. Hit Next. See, Unreal is fine. We're going to uncheck DirectX 5 just because we have a DirectX 7 already installed on the computer now, courtesy of the Quake 3 Arena. And we will install the Unreal software. It's funny it never came with the yeah, it's funny it never came with the auto run. It's my original disc, but I threw out the box for this, and I wish I never did because the boxes for these were the ones with the big cutout in the middle, and the CD sat in the middle with all the different box art. And the box art's right here, which is great. So different versions allowed you to have that kind of, it was kind of displayed in the middle of the box, hollowed out. And I mean, going online now today to replace it, just forget it. It's just too expensive. So if you have a box for the Unreal and you don't have the CD, I'm more than willing to take it off your hands. Okay, so it's going ahead and finishing the installation of Unreal. And we'll go ahead and fast forward to that point now. Okay, here we are back at the Windows desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Unreal game and see what we can do to get this going on the Voodoo 2 card. Do you have a 3D effects card installed? Yes, I do. Unreal is compatible with 3D effects Voodoo 1 and 2, but is incompatible with Voodoo Rush based cards. Do you want to use Unreal to use your 3D effects card? Hey, I have a Voodoo 2. Absolutely. Unreal is starting up for the first time. If you experience any problems, please read the troubleshooting section. Okay. Here we are. So far, so good. There we are. Look at that quality. Get a little closer for everybody. What a great cinematic entrance. I just love that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just go right into the game. There's no need to... we're just testing the video card out. And again, forgive my playing. It is absolutely terrible. Yeah, we'll change there. We're good to go. Medium. Oh. Start game. It's fine. Doesn't matter who I'm playing with there. Okay. Look at the quality, the graphics, just absolutely awesome, smooth. Let's fix that a little bit. Just look at the quality. Just, oh, I love it. How smooth everything is. Oh. Oh, what's in the corner over here?
Prisoner 472. Prisoner KP 27. You have entered a restricted area. Security team detected fire.
I just love how smooth everything. Even that glass floor. Well, I say it's glass. I think it's ice. I'm sliding. But look at all the texture and the detail in here, even on the Voodoo 2 card. Okay, one through there. I'll take all the health you want to give me. We have a pretty good idea of the quality of the game and how smooth it's running on this Pentium II 450. I don't want to make anyone dizzy. But yeah, just look at the quality. I just absolutely love it. My favorite, of course, is this. Where'd it go? I say that, but here we are. Come on, let me up. That floor here, just like being able to see myself in it. Like, that's awesome. All right, I think it's a successful test of the Voodoo 2 card using Unreal. Let's get out of it and see if we can run the Quake 3 Arena. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into Setup and go into our system. And we're going to change the settings for 800 by 600, and the GL drive, we're going to use the Voodoo. And okay, so make sure that all works. Click on Accept. Seems to be switching. Okay, great. Change the resolution for sure. Let's go to single player. Demo's fine. Crash, skirmish, or fight. Let's do fight. And bring it on. Again, I'm letting everyone know I'm absolutely terrible at this, but that's fine. We're only here to take a look at the quality of the video and make sure that the Voodoo 2 card remains stable during the play of the game. Wow, just look at that.
Welcome to Quake 3 Arena.
Hey, bud, how you doing? Good looking guy. All right, let's go here.
Just here to reach the walk over an item to pick it up through the portal to begin combat. Crash to initiate.
Whoa! Crash, you got me. Well, I can't let it end that way. I cannot let it end that way. Didn't expect them to be that quick.
You are tied for the lead.
Whoa! Isn't this fun?
3 frags left.
Where are you, Crash? Oh, behind me, apparently. I have a feeling they're going to get me on this wall. Yeah, there we go. Came out to play.
One frag left.
Now come on. Oh. One more frag, come on. All right. Still awesome. I think this is a successful test of the Voodoo 2 card and our fully restored Pentium II 450 computer. Okay. Here we are. Going back to the Windows desktop. I think this has been a very successful win for us. I think by going in and picking this system based on your feedback and the comments and the, oh my goodness, look at all those awesome goodies that are inside there, and then taking it from a trash bin, doing a full restoration on the computer, and reinstalling Windows 98 with all the different drivers and all the good things, as well as testing out the video card requirements. And I think we're in a really good spot. I mean, we've created a nice gaming system for Windows 98 here. And I mean, the system was thrown in the garbage can. I keep on saying that because I'm flabbergasted by that. And then we're able to take all this with some investment and some energy, mainly time. And here we are. We have a beautiful system. I do think, though, that it is missing something. Even though we've installed the CD burner, we've installed the drivers for the beautiful Matrox card and the Diamond Voodoo 2 card, we've even installed the Sound Blaster AWE64 card, which is working wonderfully. I just feel like it's missing something. I think we need this baby, the 3DFX badge. I think it deserves nothing but the finest here. There we go. That is much better. Beautiful Pentium II 450 computer with our 3DFX dedicated graphics in there. And I say dedicated graphics, but, I'm still in awe that we're able to get all this going and restored. And I'm able to share all this with everybody here on the channel. So if you've liked this video, this concludes our series, our full restoration on the Pentium II 450 series. There'll be others like this. There'll be some more e-waste coming. There's some other projects I'm working on. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button. You'll be notified when I release new content such as this. It really helps me out. And I really appreciate you spending the time with me on this. And I love the feedback. I love the comments. I love all of your support. I love doing this for everybody. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.